Alright everybody, welcome to Lake of Voices. This is a visual novel style game that I got on Steam. Pretty sure I downloaded it for free. You can check, but I'm pretty sure. I have no idea what it's about, but apparently it's about a lake full of voices. Which, if it was me, I would have given that lake the middle finger and walked in the opposite direction. But we're probably going to go jump in it, we're probably going to touch it a little bit, and then drown like this girl is probably doing. Yeah, let's just jump in and see what happens. You'll need to make various decisions throughout Lake of Voices. Here are a few details to keep in mind. Certain choices are timed. Time running out isn't something to completely avoid. In some cases, not getting involved can open new possibilities. Other choices aren't timed. These options only determine whether Kika has any special affection for another character or not. If you survive until the second night, the story will branch into one of 5 different plot lines based on your earlier decisions. The other characters cannot manage all situations in the various plot lines regardless of what you do. If a character isn't making it, try getting that plot with a different set of survivors or having the same group of characters venture through some other storyline. Becoming closer to someone can add and or remove future choice options and change how some scenes play out. Your decision to build that connection may not go unnoticed by the other characters. Earning the full amount of affection with certain characters can require getting into specific plot lines. Okay. My grip on my lantern tightens as the fog around us thickens. While the forests in this area are relatively safe compared to Sinlos, I can't help but feel my hair stand on end the further we get. My free hand fingers the hilt of my sword, something akin to a nervous reflex.
Have you seen it before?
This tree? Yes, I've climbed it many a time. Bemelle, Kevin. Bemelle breaks the silence, either sensing my unease or assuaging his own. I hope it's the latter. Assuaging. God, Carrie. Okay, so we are going close to the lake. Like a not smart person would do. He's like, listen, that's why I brought this lantern. I don't like it. Bemelle scratches his chin casually, as though I asked what his favorite food is.
I traveled a long way around it once before. Not so pleasant. Something about it just frays your nerves. Although, even being near it is enough.
Nice voice acting, I gotta say. Kudos. So I'm not the only one who feels it. A sense of relief hits me, but not enough to undo the buzzing of anxiety. The lake, Sinlos. Most try their best to avoid it all their lives. The hundreds who die attempting to cross its unearthly black water, dragged to death by the creatures lurking within, aren't a secret.
No wonder you were assigned this mission.
Is it because he's the pretty one? There are a few who have had first-hand experience with the place, even if from a distance. He'll probably keep being picked whenever they need someone to cross, for however long he's with us. Bemelle shrugs, bringing my attention back to the dark path before us.
At least we're taking the bridge this time. It'll only take 2 days instead of double that, and the sooner this place is behind us, the better.
It would be preferable not to risk it. But time is of the essence. We don't really have a choice.
You always have a choice. Like going around. Just saying. One of our allied villages, Hamer, is being harassed by brigadiers, a band of ruffians. We don't have many guards to send as an assist, only Bemelle and myself. The least we can do is arrive before we are too late to be of any use. These kinds of squabbles happen often, but have to be put down lest they turn into a blood grudge or an all-out war. The last we heard, neither option was that far off.
I can also see why they chose you to come out here.
It's because I'm also the pretty one. I glance at Bemelle, an eyebrow raised. A slight smile plays across his lips.
You're always so calm, so serious. Nothing can get to you. You're the best choice they have.
And I'm pretty. Just admit it. A smile now tugs at my own lips. I would like to thank him, but that wouldn't be so calm and serious as he just described. And if that's how he sees me, I'd like to keep it that way. I would be like, yeah, totes serious. Yeah, that's definitely me. Oh, what was that? No, just kidding. My lack of reaction only makes his smile grow, and he chuckles a bit before refocusing on the path. I do the same. It wouldn't be right to let my guard down in a place like this. Bemelle appears to feel differently, however.
You know the town on the other side of the lake, though. not so similar to ours. If all goes well, perhaps we'll have enough time to enjoy the new air.
I mean, if we don't get ate by the lake monster. For the most part, I ignore him, nodding when applicable. Bemelle is a talkative sort, and if chatting helps keep his worries down and his sword hand ready, I have no complaints. After a time, the thick fog surrounding us begins to clear. A slick wooden dock comes into view, and with it the sounds of water gently lapping at its sides. Bemelle shifts beside me, stretching his lantern arm as far as it will go. He seems tense.
Someone's already here.
Ooh, dun dun dun, lake monster. Or is it just a swimmer? He's just off diving on the end of the bridge. Like, what are you doing? It's like, swimming. Let's go ahead and save it, just to be safe. Empty slot, please. Okay, was that all I needed to do? Very good. Oh my god, I'm so lost in the fog and darkness. A young woman stands by the dock, eyeing us warily. Does she intend to cross tonight? Stop it, timer. As for something else. Evidently, she has the same question. As we step up next to her, it's clear she isn't simply passing by. She's waiting. The stranger nods curtly to us.
Margaret.
Hello, Margaret.
You get the steadfast.
I even have a nickname. The Steadfast. Love it.
Bemelle.
Oh,
Hello?
Bemelle. Ooh, it's so fancy. Bemelle. Now I can say it right instead of sounding stupid. Margaret's like, holy shit, he's fucking hot. Like, elf hot. There's a stuffy silence. Margaret turns to gaze out across the lake. Expression unclear. With not much to say, Bemelle and I do the same. From here, the black surface of the lake looks disarmingly calm. Wind rushes across its surface, a sound like whispering. Though perhaps it is actually English. Though perhaps it actually is whispering. I concentrate, trying to place the difference, searching for breaks and rhythm. After a few seconds, I feel foolish. It doesn't matter what the noise is. Whether I hear them or not, we're not alone. The Nixie are out there. Do you like the accent? I do. A feeling that I can't quite shake tells me they've already noticed a little group of people on their shores. It feels hostile. My stomach sinks, and I instead address Bemelle. So fancy.
Where was the guide?
She's like, I was the guide and now I'm a Nixie. It's like, uh-oh.
Unless he's on the center island, or on the complete other side, your guess is as good as mine. It's dark as pitch out there.
By the way, that's where that saying comes from. Just fun little fact there. Panic rises inside me. Panic I try hard to quell.
We can't cross without him, and we need to get going soon.
We can't cross without him.
You can't cross with him either.
He's been eaten! The woman behind us, Margaret, cuts in with something like a snort.
What?
What? Did you eat him?
I know the guide will be here tonight. I have already made arrangements for him to cross.
Bemelle and I share a look. The woman seems haughty and willing to put up a fuss.
I have his word he'll take me today. It would be wiser for the two of you to begin the trip around if you're really in such a hurry. Or you can make camp here and wait for him to make the trip back if you prefer.
Oh, she's so uptight. Sorry, the music is a little low. Just cut down. Tiny bit. Voices up. Music down. I don't need to turn my attention to Bemelle to know he's riled up. I step in before he can say something rash.
Even if that is so, my companion and I must
She
begin
just-
the trip tonight.
Fucking clocks Margaret in the face. I had to do it before you did, Bemelle. She was pissing me off too. Margaret is unimpressed and opens her mouth to argue further.
We'll wait for the guide to arrive before coming to a
Okay, I'm gonna
conclusion
stop with the
about
accent,
any
but
of
it
this.
was fun. I like doing accents. I think they're fun. She clams her mouth shut, then lets out a sigh.
You can do as you like.
She's like, whatever. Why? You can take your hand off your cheek. We get that you're overly dramatic. It's just like, I dropped everything in the lake but my lantern. With the matter tentatively settled, Bemelle moves away. His finger begins to tap loudly against the top of his hilt. He shifts from one foot to another, then groans.
What's that bastard even up to?
He's out there throwing a party with them lake monsters. I almost visibly start, but manage to restrain myself. He probably doesn't know any better. I'm sure of that. It's not worth mentioning.
With a mouth like that, you shouldn't even have the right to ask the guy to take you across.
Oof, Margaret, you're talking to the wrong man here. Bemelle didn't give a fuck.
How ludicrous. He's faced far worse than a bit of foul language.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything that's happened with this lake?
I know enough.
I kind of want to see him throw down, honestly. Margaret is clearly not convinced, but she shrugs and makes a show of turning her back to him.
The guide's father is Garvin the Exemplar. Garvin never accepted the guide as his son, all the way up until he died in this lake.
See what
Your
happens?
statement
Don't
could be
disown your
seen as
kids.
tasteless.
Oh.
Oh, that. Okay. Bemelle rubs the back of his neck, his face regretful.
My apologies to the guide. I didn't mean it that way. I never knew about his... well, that.
A smile spreads across my face, one I quickly wipe away. He really did just misspeak. The silence slowly stretches between the three of us, growing more awkward with each passing second. Margaret seems irritated and Bemelle abashed. I'm sure you are forgiven, Bemelle. I'm gonna say that.
I know you. You are brash but not intentionally cruel. I'm sure all is well.
Bemelle smiles and claps me on the back.
You're a good woman, Kika. Smart, too. You've never been here, yet you knew more of the guide than I would.
I read. You don't? That's what I'd say. You don't read books? What the fuck, Bemelle?
I know about Garvin, truthfully. Tales of his deeds were some of the only stories my parents ever told.
Is that so? You could tell me more about it sometime.
Of course. I pause, unsure how to respond to this type of request.
I would like that very much.
Oh, is he blushing?
Yes, I wouldn't mind that. We must wait until after this trip, though.
Why not, like, on the way? What, are the lake monsters gonna get mad at you for telling stories?
Of course.
Oh, he was
We should
blushing.
drop the topic sooner rather than later, in any case.
That's so cute.
I agree.
Even if there's no harm meant, hearing someone mention Garvin is probably difficult for the guide, no matter what the circumstance. With the topic dropped, we each remain locked inside our own thoughts, not another word passing between us. I want to see the guide. Oh, he's coming. Eventually, a small light appears on the bridge ahead, gently swaying through the foggy air. It gets closer and closer until it becomes apparent it's a figure carrying a lantern. That must be the guide, although I can't shake the ghostly aura it gives off. The figure steps onto the shore, but we wait for him to approach us instead of going to meet him. None of us are sure how close to the waters we can get before it is no longer safe. Oh, he's pretty too. He stops in front of us and simply stares.
Are you the guide of Sinless?
The man nods. He has a sharp face and wary eyes.
Well, that's grand. We would like an escort across the lake.
Bemelle motions to the two of us, and Margaret approaches, a strained smile on her face.
Hello. Good to see you again. I'm ready to cross, as we've agreed upon.
The guide turns to face her as well, face remaining unchanged. It must not be a lie. He would have had to say something otherwise. She really does have preference to travel with him. That's a problem.
Is there a way we can all begin the trip tonight?
Yes, I will allow all three of you to go. But with that many, at least one will die before we reach the other side.
Bye, Margaret. I furrow my brow. It's a disturbing addendum, and one offered with little emotion attached. Bemelle glares back, asking without asking what we're supposed to do with such
You
circumstances.
should go around.
I'm gonna save it. Right here. That's what I said. Just go around the lake. The sentence hangs in the air, the second half unspoken. If you want to live.
We don't have time for that. There are people
Whoa,
counting on
Bemelle,
us for
calm
protection.
down.
Why does she need to go?
He jerks a finger at Margaret, whose face contorts with anger.
I don't need to explain myself to you. My journey has already been put off once, and I was promised I could go today.
Then why don't you go around? She meets Bemelle's eyes with a gaze of steel. He starts to speak and she cuts in.
An extra day or two shouldn't be that much of a problem for you. Whoever you're meeting can surely wait such a tiny amount longer. Patience is a virtue, after all.
The night is only so long, and if we're still on the bridges when the sun comes up, we'll all die as they sink back below the surface. If you don't decide soon, no one will be going.
Ooh. The guide is dispassionate, stoic. I would almost feel something's wrong with him if I didn't share the trait myself. Bemelle pulls me to the side, jaw clenched tight.
Woman isn't armed.
His voice is low, he darts a glance at Margaret.
We can easily get her to back off if we make this into an actual fight. After all, we have to go tonight, yes? If one of us really is to die, it'll be her. Would staying be a worse fate than her death?
I stare at the dock, refusing to meet Bemelle's eyes, and try to keep my voice as level as possible.
We don't know her situation. This isn't a decision we can make for her.
What?
Bemelle leans in closer, apparently having missed what I said. I remove the sympathy for her in my response when I speak
The
again.
guide won't accept something like that, I assume.
His face is grim.
Then what else do you have in mind?
First of all, you and I cannot split up. Either we both stay, or we both go.
Right. That's not a question.
I cross my arms, a hand on my chin. I have full confidence in my abilities and in Bemelle's, but there's no reason not to believe the guide knows exactly what he's talking about. If we go, he might not be able to give the group the attention we each deserve. That would mean we truly would be putting Margaret's life at risk on top of our own. The guide approaches Bemelle and me before I have time to sort out my
You will
thoughts.
stay.
That's fine.
What?
You would have already decided to come if you had the proper mindset for a journey such as this. You two will stay.
But you don't understand.
The guide raises a hand to me, eyes cold. My words die in my throat. If he decides we aren't fit to cross, how could we persuade him
This
otherwise?
is bullshit. We are more than equipped to make this journey, and we know more of what it means to be in danger than most will know in all their life.
You two will stay.
Bemelle's muscles tense, and I put a hand on his arm. He trembles slightly beneath my fingers, his hands curling themselves into fists, but he doesn't say another word. The guide turns around and heads onto the bridge. Margaret uncomfortably looks from the guide to us.
Goodbye.
Then she steps onto the bridge after him. Bemelle sighs, the anger releasing from him, and they disappear into the fog.
Farewell.
Be safe. We reached Tamir safely, though it took much longer than we would have liked. Much of the village had been damaged or even destroyed. It was my fault for taking so long. I did all I could to aid them in defending their town and repairing what could be salvaged. Bemelle was disheartened by how little assistance we were able to provide. However, he could not deny how fortunate we were to have both made it at all, especially after we caught wind of the report given by the guide to the elders for that night. Close enough to Sinlos, gets informed on what occurs in that lake. He does so because communities wish to be made aware if they have lost one of their own. This time is news with the death of a young woman. The one we spoke to, Margaret, is gone. I have not heard nor seen the guide myself since then. I must assume he is still there on that foggy shore waiting for desperate souls to seek out his light so they may cross the lake of true darkness. Although I regret that I was not able to do more to protect these people, no one admonishes me for it. They seem sure that I did everything possible. I hope that is true, even if I cannot bring myself to believe it. Soon, Bemelle and I will return home, and we will once again take the long way around. My one piece in all of this is that Sinlos will be far behind me in a matter of days. I intend to keep it there. What? Ending one. Okay, we're gonna go back now. Let's reload the second one.
You
here.
should go around.
No. Boom, skip. Let's go.
And I believe you.
Bemelle's reply is firm. My steadfastness seems almost weak in comparison to its certainty. He addresses the guide.
We shouldn't waste more time. Let's shove off.
The guide slowly turns around without even a nod to show his agreement. Margaret stares at Bemelle and me, something of a resolve in her gaze, then she follows after the guide. At least she didn't insist we stay behind.
We should do what we can to protect her. It's our fault she's being put in even further danger.
Exactly my thoughts. We will take care of everything. Maybe I'm being naive, but I have no intentions of letting anyone fall victim to this lake tonight. Those monsters can stomp.
Yeah, bitches. I smile at him for a change, and Bemelle agrees. Bemelle eagerly smiles back.
We're lucky to have each other in this, I think.
Oh, I think you're right, Bemelle. Toad's gonna get in a relationship as long as you don't die in the water. He turns to follow the others across. I will protect everyone on this trip. I will. We will make it through this. Then I step onto the dock and join them. As soon as I step onto the wood, the temperature drops. The light of my lamp shines against the water's surface, as reflective as a mirror. Until we reach land again, death is only one small mistake away. We fall into line with the guide leading the way. Margaret stays close to him, and I behind her, watching to make sure she doesn't slip on the slick, wet wood. Bemelle brings up the rear. Each of us hold our lanterns in front of us, but it does little good. The fog is thick and nigh impenetrable, consuming the light as if hungry for it. Above the surface of the lake, it's deathly quiet. No longer is there the whispering wind, nor the sound of water lapping against the shore. It's just our own mismatched footsteps and the sound of my quickened breathing. My eyes drift back to the lake against my better judgment. It's no wonder there's not even the sound of water with how still the surface is. It seems almost sturdy, with the sheen of a black marble floor. I've heard rumors the water of Sinlos is heavier, more difficult to disturb than natural water. That just the weight of its oppressive cling is enough to keep someone down, even without them. Something even darker than the abyss of the lake flickers just below the surface, or at least I think it does. I turn my gaze to Margaret's back. It's better to stay focused.
Fall back a bit. You're following me too closely.
Maybe I just like to be pressed against you, bro. Did you ever think of that? Sorry. The guide is looking over his shoulder, addressing Margaret.
Sorry.
If someone gets pulled into the lake, they'll instinctively reach for anything to hold on to. Do not let that be you.
Margaret's shoulders rise, and she nods with great
I
seriousness.
understand. Thank you for the advice.
He ignores her gratitude.
You can speak amongst yourselves if you so choose, as long as you pay attention to where you're going. There is no worth in listening to the sounds out there. If there's anything at all, it'll only be Nixie trying to set you on edge.
All right. Then, could you tell us your name? You didn't have a chance to properly introduce yourself, and I've only heard you being referred to as the guide.
I don't have a name.
You shall now be dubbed Kevin. He's facing the front again, his voice as expressionless as before. I have no way of guessing how he feels as he says this.
Oh.
We're gonna call him Kevin. It's probably not something he wishes to talk about. However, there was something else I wanted to say, so changing the subject is not difficult.
Margaret, thank you for allowing us to join you.
Margaret shrugs noncommittally.
It wasn't exactly up to me. The guide said he would take you.
She hesitates, and then she looks tentatively over her shoulder at me.
But thank you for saying that. It's appreciated.
Bemelle and I will do our best to be an asset on this trip, rather than a burden.
That's nice. I'm not afraid to be out here, though. Still, at least with your training, you should be able to...
Sorry, it's just I got the first ending, so it's like flashbacks to when Margaret died. Listen, I know the future. It's comforting to know that everyone here is so confident in their abilities. Not enough to forget how terrible it feels to be over this lake. Okay, we're going to save it again. And that's going to be it for this game today. But so far, I really like it. I think it's very nice, and I think it's really well drawn. I actually really like the characters so far, even though I just started the game. The voice acting is amazing. The music is absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I'm liking it so far. But of course, I like visual novel games. They're always a lot of fun because it's just an interactive story, and like the choices you make matter and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I know what happens in the future, Margaret. So don't piss me off. No. But thank you guys so much for coming in and watching. I hope that you enjoyed watching this. I had a lot of fun starting this game. I was going to play Bioshock for you guys because I hadn't played Bioshock in a very long time. Realized I didn't have it downloaded on my PlayStation, so it's downloading right now. So if it gets done before it's too late, I'll play a little bit of that too today, because I haven't played it since I was like 15. So it's been 15 years. So I would really like to go back and play it and just see how it holds up to like games like Infinite and, you know, just games of today and stuff like that. So yeah, love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!